Back to this on how Ogden got named Ogden. This book is free, so yeah, this is the famous photo of her. She stopped here. What a thing to be found. I did all that plaster work. Of course, she painted it. I know her who painted it, Kimmy. Well, she's an artist. I'm a rainbow striped. The two prostitutes that were killed right there in that room right there, about a decade ago, was one of the last heinous, infamous murders in this town. You know, double homicide. But this town, not now, but I'm talking in the day, until just a decade or so ago, talk about the great blood is, and so Peter Skeen Ogden, how did he become named Peter Skeen Ogden? He never set foot here. So back to, you have to watch the one before. So I'm at the Bear River Massacre site so many times, the children that survived, a lot of them ended up in Ogden, by the way. And so I used to be friends with all the great Western historian writers, and the stories would get told. And so I found out my mother, who's from Lava Hot Springs, Ella Potter, Ike Potter, the great, incredible, yeah, that Ike Potter. Ella Potter is my grandma. So anyway, he spent a winter there. Peter Skeen Ogden did. So when they're trying to shuffle out this name after they found out Captain Brown was such a crook, and selling deeds that he didn't have from the Mexican king. So they want to change the name from Brownsville. So they're going to, what is that noise? Jedediah Smith. There's always noise going, somebody blaring some bad music somewhere. So Jedediah Smith, Brigham Young's like, no. Now these streets, that's Paul McKay Brody's classroom right there. It's irony because that street used to be Joseph Smith Street. Now it's Jefferson. She got famous for writing Thomas Jefferson's biography. Her classroom right there. She was the greatest. So, couldn't name it that. Smith, because confused with Joseph Smith. Couldn't name it Jim Bridger. Wyoming already claimed that. He had bolted up there what his name's monument. I remember the famous story between him and Brigham Young. So, it wasn't going to be Jim Bridger. How come not Miles Goodyear? So Brown sold to Miles Goodyear, who was here. He built that first cabin, whatever. So how come not that? So how did they land on Ogden? Took the safe choice. And if you don't believe me, you go talk to Russ Burroughs, who is the English dean at Weber State, who's from here. He'll tell you Kevin Blanche is the walking, talking encyclopedia. So there was a skirmish, another in Ontario, Oregon, up there, Treasure Valley. And it got printed in newspaper that it was him who solved it. He went up and negotiated, which we know how he negotiated. He was evil to any natives. Which fur trader wasn't? Well, Jim Bridger wasn't. So he was in vogue as being the so-called bullshit peacemaker. And so they took the safe choice. And Brigham Young, on the land swap, remember it was Corinne, the great Junction City. All Wesley here. He says, well, we're going to name it after fur. So Brigham Young says, we'll go with Peter Skeen Ogden. On advice of federal muckmucks. And so it got named Ogden after a guy who was wanted for murder in Montreal. His father is a French-Canadian judge. Now, it's important because why is it named Wasatch? Height. A lot of those original fur, the Ashley, that'll be 200, the Ashley 100, that'll be 200 years this year. So, they just ran an ad in the paper in Missouri, come out here, the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, but there was more fur than anyone here. That's why they're here, Revenant. I like Glass, he's my favorite. Of course, I love Bridger. He married the chief's daughter, and the chief ended up getting baptized by the Mormons. The Shoshone. This is Shoshone land. And so, little soldier, anything, but that's how it came to be. This is a disgrace, this whole buy local, no locals, the great Freud. It's a disgrace. I did all the restoration on that building for years, for Mr. Budge, for Jess, for all the hand painted out of them. That was my hand, my work. What they let happen to that is beyond disgraceful. So how is Ogden named Ogden for a man who never set foot here? Go west, young man. That was even before the railroad. was wanted for a murder in Montreal. You know, who's the savages? It was the fur. They were here after the fur, the beaver. You know, they say there was more of it here than anywhere in the world. They trapped that out real quick, didn't they? Devoto writes about this in a cliche way, but I love Devoto's work. Across the wide Missouri. He's about here. His house is right up here. The old Central Junior High School. Right in the back, that's where he grew up and was born and raised. That's his statue right there, but should we change it? Why? What's the point now? You know, we named everything. How about James Fremont? He was only here for a few years. Look what he did. The Kit Carson Monument up the road. Remember the elm tree went through it?